So Patanjali says sustained happiness or joy is only possible if you have a steady mind. And if you don't have a steady mind, so this is still chapter 1, which is all about the nature of the mind. If you don't have a steady mind, then he says, and this is in verses 30 to 33, and this is a translation by Alistair Shearer that I like very much. It's not just because it seems to match my outfit bizarrely tonight, but the obstacles are illness, fatigue, doubt, carelessness, laziness, attachment, delusion, the failure to achieve firm ground or the slipping away of that ground. These are all distractions from the path of yoga. And these distractions, the clue that you've been kind of grabbed by those distractions is that the body feels restless, your breath is uneven, and your mind is agitated. And the way to overcome these obstacles is to bring the mind to a single point of focus. The Sanskrit word for bringing the mind to a single point of focus is dharana, concentration, which crops up again in chapter 2 a little bit later with some other techniques wrapped around that. So we're going to have our focus tonight on concentration, and we'll try to bring that about by focusing on the breath and then using what are called drishtis or looking places in different yoga postures. And the idea here is just to keep the mind focused on one thing, even though you may be hearing things in the background, your eye may be caught by something else. But if you have a particular focus to keep drawing yourself back to, then it's more likely that you will sustain that focus for a little while. And over time, the mind will respond to that. It will be trained really to become a little steadier. So let's begin with the breathing practice. I'm going to show you with the breathing ball, and then we'll close our eyes and have a go. So in this breathing practice, it's just really a tweak from the ones we've done in recent weeks. We're going to keep quite a natural breath tonight, in and out through the nose. We're just going to have a feeling that the exhale is just that little bit longer than the inhale. And that will naturally occur. So it should be a really easy breath to sustain. But the more important thing about having this easy breath is that I would like our dharana, our point of focus in the breath, to be the end of the inhale, when you feel that you've reached a comfortable maximum in your breathing capacity. And then as you do that slightly longer exhale, just noticing the end of the out breath before the next in breath begins. So don't feel that you need to hold the breath at all. It's more about just placing your mind, placing the focus of your mind at the turning point at the end of the inhale and the turning point at the end of the exhale. Just like we've spoken about this before, if you think about the breath as like a wave coming up the beach, that wave has to go back down to the sea, but there's that moment where it stopped coming in and it hasn't started going out, and that is the turning point of the wave, and we're looking for the same sensation of the turning point of the breath. So you might be sitting cross-legged on the floor, you might be in a chair like me. I've got my feet on a block, so I really feel firmly connected to the ground, through the feet, through the hips. And whatever position you're in, just feel that the spine is upright. And if you slightly tuck your chin in, lengthen the back of the neck, feel as if you're lifting the crown of the head, and think about lining up. The head is over the heart is over the pelvis, and everything is stacked in a beautiful neutral line. And that creates the space for this very full, smooth, easy breath. So now we're going to close the eyes. If you really don't like closing your eyes, you can just take your first drishti as a soft gaze down and forwards to a mark on the floor in front of you. When we close our eyes, we're going to have an easier job of focusing the mind, because we're cutting off the visual sensory input that might otherwise distract us. So with your eyes closed, with your awareness turning inwards, begin to connect to that breath, that sense of comfortable inhale and an easy exhale. It just feels a little bit longer, a little bit more luxurious than your in-breath. But the most important thing is that it feels like a really comfortable, sustainable rhythm of inhale and exhale. And if we were to measure our breathing rate, you probably dropped it to about 6 or 7 breaths per minute. Whereas if I was asking you to do your really fullest breath, you might get down to 4 or 5. So not our fullest breath, more an easy breath tonight. And then beginning to place the focus of your mind at the end of the inhale, noticing the turning point before you begin your exhale. And at the end of the exhale, the turning point before the inhale. And it's such a brief moment. That's why it really can hold the mind steady, because you really have to focus and concentrate to find that exact moment. It's a micro pause in the breath, when the breath is neither coming in nor going out, but in the process of turning. And we're just going to do this for a few more breaths. You start to feel at all lightheaded, just ease back on the depth of your breathing. If you feel any tightening in the chest, you're probably just overdoing the turning points and turning them into pauses or even retentions. And we're not doing that. We never really do that. It's quite advanced practice. So it has to be a really natural pause, a really natural turning of inhale to exhale and exhale to inhale. We don't have time to do this for ages tonight, but if you take this practice into your personal practice and give it a little bit longer, it's really common to have the experience that as long as you start in a comfortable position, your body becomes extremely still, with the mind completely absorbed in the breath. And there's a profound sense of sort of foundation and grounding and embodiment and connection to the breath. And it is a very simple practice, so very, very accessible. So we're going to begin to move now. And most of you are coming down onto the mat. If you need to practice in a chair, just unmute and ask for chair instructions. Otherwise, I'm going to assume that everybody is happy to work on the mat. We're going to begin tonight with our usual, just a little bit of drawing the knees in over the chest and just making sure that you are supporting the back of the head with a folded blanket or a yoga block, so that the chin isn't higher than the forehead. We want a feeling of space and extension through the back of the neck. And when you're here, just rest the hands on the abdomen. First of all, just taking a little rock from side to side without holding the knees. And as you do this, beginning to slightly extend the movement. And as you extend the movement, keeping that chin tucked in, rolling the head the opposite way to the knees. in a very soft, gentle way to begin to mobilize the neck. And then coming back to center, keeping the hands where they are. The palms here are just resting on the abdomen, just also gives you a point of focus for the mind and helps you feel where the breath is moving. So as we do our second practice, which is quite small circles, keeping the knees and the feet together, you just want to feel that the abdomen is remaining mainly still as you do this. So we're breathing a little bit more up here into the chest because we're using some of the muscles, and you can feel that under your palms, some of the abdominal muscles. Now, if you've got strength here and you don't have any lower back problems, you can make these circles a little bit wider to work and strengthen the internal and external obliques, the muscles at the side of the body, which support twisting, but they also support the spine, particularly internal obliques. But if you've got lower back issues, then just keep an eye on that. Make sure you don't do anything that is too strong. And just around about this size circle that I'm doing now would be a maximum amount. So we don't need to go overboard here. And you want to feel that the lower back isn't being pulled around or arching away from the floor. And then coming back to center, and now we're going to take the hands around the back of the thighs or interlace them around the shins. Bring the head to center, take a breath in, and as you exhale, squeeze the thighs in towards the chest and feel the stretch through the lower back and the back of the pelvis. Inhale, let the arms straighten to take the thighs away, make space for the inhalation, and exhale, squeezing in. Let's bring our focus back to that same breath, inhaling to the turning point, and then exhaling, slightly long exhale and drawing the thighs in. And feeling a sense of space coming into the back of the body. So if you don't have shoulder or neck issues, the last two of these will just extend this practice by drawing the thighs in and then just lifting the head towards those knees. And as you inhale, taking the head down and then straightening the arms. And once more. And then release. And then as you release, we're going to let the left foot go down. Keep hold of the right foot, arms are straight. Exhale, drawing the right thigh in now, and then just holding it in. So there's enough space to breathe because the other leg isn't in. And then you can either keep the left leg bent, or you can just experiment by moving that leg away. And if it's comfortable for you, moving that leg all the way straight until you can stretch the heel away from you, pull the toes back, and even begin to feel as if you are spreading the toes of that left foot. The front left quad muscle is engaged, so this left leg is really strong. It's just going to hold your left side of your pelvis in place, so that as you keep this right thigh drawn in, you're getting a good amount of hip opening on this right side. Let's just circle the right ankle and circle in the other direction. And then pull the toes back, spread the toes of the right foot, point the toes away, scrunch the toes under, and then draw the toes back once more. And then bring the left leg in, change hands, take the right foot down. Inhale, arms straight. Exhale, draw the left thigh in, and then begin to move this right leg away, only taking the leg straight if that feels right for you. Again, make that right leg strong, engage all the muscles, pull the toes back, spread the bones of the feet, spread the toes on that right side, use the right leg to anchor the right hip, and keep the left thigh drawing in, and rotate the left foot. And rotate in the other direction. And then pull the toes back, point the toes, scrunch the toes under, pull the toes back once more, spread the bones of the left foot, spread the toes, very nice. And then release the left leg and slide both legs straight. And just have a quick stretch, inhaling, both arms overhead, spreading the fingers, spreading the toes, lengthening through the whole of the body. I'm feeling as if you're doing a little bit of back bend here. You can feel the shoulder blades and the back of the pelvis pressing down to the floor, and the lower back arching away a little bit, and even the upper back just sinking a little bit in between the shoulder blades to go from its outward curve towards flat. Very nice. And then breathing in, take the arms up into the air, and breathing out, bring the knees back in, take a little rock from side to side. And one hand on each knee, and just opening the hips now. So we're still mainly in our mobilization phase. And reconnecting to the breath. Inhale to the turning point. Exhale, slightly longer exhale to the turning point. Breathing in for half a circle. Breathing out for a slightly slower exhale, half circle. And finding the space in the hip joints. And then we'll just do one circle in the other direction. So grabbing hold of the belt now. And this is the only time we're using the belt tonight. And if you don't have a belt, you can take the hands around the back of the thigh and just work with the hands up and down the back of the leg. Otherwise, we're going to do a sort of hamstring and leg preparation stretch that we've been doing most weeks, where we breathe in and let the knee bend, and therefore let this muscle relax, and then do that slightly longer exhale to straighten the leg, and using the belt to draw the toes back towards the face, stretch the heel away. Inhale, focus on the turning point of the breath. As you begin to exhale, straightening the leg, notice the turning point, you're still in the stretch there, and as soon as the in-breath begins to flow back in, letting the knee bend. 2 more, following the breath. And then after the next exhale, we're going to hold the stretch for 3 breaths. And again, just finding the turning points of the breath, and just finding a sustainable stretch where it isn't too much. So the leg might be here, knee may need to be slightly bent, or if you have more length in the back of the legs, the leg will begin to track in towards the body. We're going to keep the back of the pelvis on the mat and keep the other leg with the knee bent and the foot flat on the floor. And then just backing out of that stretch, slightly bend the right knee and let the left foot come in and take over the belt. I'm going to work in exactly the same way on this side. Inhaling, knee bent. Exhale, find the turning point of the breath. Inhale, turning point. Exhale. So when we are doing breath and movement and sensing what is happening in our body, That's usually enough to keep the mind focused and from wandering. But if you need an additional anchor, then the drishti, the looking place, can also be applied in postures. We'll do that a little bit later. But in this pose, as we exhale now and come into holding the stretch on the left leg, you could focus the gaze softly on the left foot or on the left toes. And that might also just help to contain the mind. And at the end of the next exhale, bending that left knee, taking the belt off, just sliding both legs straight for a moment, giving them a bounce up and down, rocking the pelvis from side to side, just noticing how those legs are feeling. And then coming back into semi-supine, and I'm just going to show you this practice, which has two stages to it. The second stage might not be ideal for everybody. So particularly if you have weakness in the core muscles or you're not engaging with the core muscles too strongly, we have a lower back condition, you might just modify the second stage. So the first stage, if you just watch this for a second, looks like this. Inhale, both arms overhead, knee coming in, and then extending in two directions, through the arms to lengthen the spine, up through the leg from the pelvis to lengthen the leg. Exhale, bringing the arms and the leg back down, so that will look the same on the other side. So you can just stick with that, but some of you may wish to progress it so that it looks more like this. Inhaling into the same position, and then as you bring the arms back, you exhale and lower the leg, the straight leg, slowly. And just as the heel reaches the ground, you bend that back in, ready to go with the next leg, lift on the other side, and the straight leg lower. So that slow lowering of the leg is going to strengthen the hip flexors and some other muscles around the core, but not for everybody. So let's have a go with that. Everybody's starting with the easy version. Breathing in, both arms overhead, softness in the shoulders, knee coming in and then extending up, and then find the space all the way to the end of that. Inhale, watch for the pause, the turning point, and then exhale, arms back and leg back. And you might not be exactly with me, just work with your own breath. Now it's the left leg and both arms. And if you want to try from the next round, lowering the straight leg, if it's safe for you to do so, then please do. And next time you lower the left leg down, make that the last one, and bring the knees in over the chest. Take a little rock from side to side to release from that work we've just done. So last practice from the mat, we're going to come into our spinal twist. So taking the feet hip width apart and extending the arms away at shoulder height or wrist just below the shoulders, keeping the head central, and on your next exhale, releasing the knees to the right and rolling the head in the opposite direction. Breathing in, knees and head to center, and breathing out, knees to the left, head to the right. So just continue with that practice for a few more breaths. If you want to work a little more strongly, you're used to that practice, and you can safely bring the feet together or even in over the chest, please feel free to do that. And then the next time the knees have gone to the left, bring them back up to center. Bring the knees in over the chest one more time. And then take the feet down with the knees and feet together. Place the palms back on the abdomen again. And just begin to separate the knees, moving towards bringing the soles of the feet together. So this is another little hip opener known as Supta, which just means lying. Supta Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose, and quite an effective hip opener, just making use of the legs and gravity to feel like the hips are opening. And it's also a really good practice to understand whether you have equal or imbalanced opening in the hips. So you can just raise the head momentarily and see which knee is higher, and the knee that's higher is the slightly stiffer side of the hips. And it's really, really common not to have completely equal hips just because we're not symmetrical in the way we move and use them. This position will slightly arch the lower back. So feel as if you're counteracting that by sort of taking the tailbone away from you and keeping this space under the lower back down to a minimum. There's going to be some curve there, but you're not overarching the lower back. And then to come out of this one, just take the hands under the legs and lift as you bring the knees together. And again, back in over the chest, little rock from side to side. And this time we'll roll over onto a convenient side to come up and to do a little bit of work in the cat. So as usual, you can work with the hands on the floor with the knees padded. And if you have any shoulder or wrist issues, it's where the chair can help you to decrease the weight in the hands and the shoulders. So just pick a version of cat that works for you. Remembering to keep the hands slightly in front of the shoulders so the wrist angle is not too punishing. Knees hip width apart, everything neutral in the spine. And then when you're happy with all those things, really feeling that you're coming back to that breath, inhaling to the turning point, slightly longer exhale as the chin tucks in, the tail tucks under, the spine arches up, to that other moment of transition between exhale and inhale. We're not doing too many of these tonight, just one more. Then we're going to take the knees just a tiny bit wider than hip width apart, bring the big toes together and send the hips back towards the heels. If you have any knee issues here, you might not want to go all the way back, and you could always pop a a support here, a cushion between the thigh and the calf if that is needed. If you can go all the way back comfortably, then do, and make a pillow for the forehead with 2 hands or use a yoga block. Just pause here for a moment. This is quite a nice position to feel like the spine can lengthen, and it's going to help us in downward dog, because it's pretty much downward dog with the knees fully bent. And as we come into that pose, just a little preparation for it. As we breathe in, just lifting the head slightly and stretch the right arm forwards, and then take it across the body until you feel a stretch all the way down the right side, and keep reaching and stretching. And when you're in a good amount of stretch there, just tucking the chin in to realign the neck and the crown of the head with the rest of the spine. And then inhaling, just bringing that arm across and back and extending forward with the left, feeling the left side of the body lengthen, keeping the left hip back, and then taking the left arm across until you feel that stretch, and then sinking back down, tucking the chin in and breathing. And then inhaling, bringing the arm back and bringing the hand in. And just make a pillow, take a rest there for a breath. Relax the shoulders after that stretch. And then tonight we're going to use the downward dog in a little dynamic sequence that we have done before. But the focus is going to be on lengthening the spine, lifting the pelvis as high as we can, and working the feet a little bit. So we've got no intention tonight of trying to get the heels down or stretch the back of the legs. It's all about the height. And I'll show you the way you can do this with the chair if you're not bearing weight tonight in the wrists or the shoulders. So this will go inhale, tucking the toes under, a kind of cat position, and then exhale, staying on the toes and using the height of the heels off the mat and the height of the sit bones to really stretch the spine away from the arms. We came up on an exhale, so we inhale here, and then we slowly exhale back down, and then we go again. You can do this with me this time if you want to. Inhale, opening the chest, tucking the toes. Exhale, head down, hips up, staying on the toes and the balls of the feet, and really lifting the hips high. Feel the spine being stretched. Inhale and exhale, release down. So doing that 1 or 2 more times, if that is feeling okay. And if you need to do that using the chair rather than having the weight going through the hands and the shoulders, use the back of the chair, make sure it's stable against a wall, or in this case the sofa, and it's the same movement, breathing in and then breathing out, extending the spine. Even in this position, I'm just slightly hovering the heels with the knees bent to work the feet. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, release, and going again. So for those who want to, on the next exhale and lifting up into the dog, you can just stay up in the dog for a couple of breaths before we come up to standing. And if you're doing that, you can now see if that height you've created through the balls of the feet, that lengthen the spine, if you can just take alternate heels down on the exhale, bending the opposite knee even a little bit more as you do that. So a very slow, mindful practice of walking the dog. And then if you're still working in that, just walking the feet in behind the wrists and slowly coming up to standing, maybe just come up halfway, place the hands on the thighs, exhale there, and then bending the knees, coming up with a straight back. And we are ready to do 3 standing poses, and then we'll be done. So we're going to work a little bit in Warrior 1 and Warrior 2, but I spoke a little bit earlier about using drishti, using looking place. So we're going to do that, and we're going to use the tips of the fingers as our looking place. So we'll just practice that before we take the leg position. So if you place the hands together in front of the heart, and then as you breathe in, just keep a soft gaze at the tops of the fingers and extend the arms away from you like this. And then as you separate the arms, this is still breathing in. You're kind of keeping an eye on your hands with your peripheral vision. And then as you exhale, the arms will come back from the peripheral vision to the center, and still exhaling back to the heart. Let's do that once more. The side view, breathing in, looking to the fingertips and separating the arms. Breathing out, bringing the palms together and drawing them back to the heart. So to take the leg position, separate the feet so they're hip width apart or very slightly wider than that. And then stepping the right leg forwards and letting the right knee bend to create a lunge position where the knee is not going beyond the ankle, just pulling that back. The back foot hardly turned out, as I always say. Try to feel a really nice stretch through the calf muscle and the Achilles. And if you don't turn the back foot out, you can feel that stretch without really having to go super wide front to back with the feet. And if you've kept the feet hip width apart or wider, you should feel really strong and stable here. We take our hands onto the hips for a moment and just send a message down through the legs that you want the legs to remain absolutely still now, but feeling strong. They're stretching and they're strong. If you tap the front of the thighs, the right thigh and the left thigh with the fingertips, you can feel there's a lot of muscle engagement all through the legs and into the glutes at the back here. So now nothing moving from the hips down, but everything is going to be soft and breath-led in the upper body. So hands together in front of the heart, eyes gazing to the fingertips. And as you inhale, extending the arms and drawing the arms apart. Keep the hands in your peripheral vision. Exhale, palms together and back to center. 2 more on this side. Feeling like you're using exactly the same breath. Inhale, extend, expand. Here's the turning point. Exhale. Hand back in front of the heart. Last one. Just keep the drishti on the hands. Step the legs back in, just give the legs a little shake for a moment. And then take position not on the other side. Now the left leg is forward, let the knee come into lunge. Release the hands to the hips for a moment. Feel the stretch, feel that everything is really firmly grounded. You haven't gone so wide that the back heel is lifting, just bring it in a bit. Turn the foot in if it's turned out. Rooting down to the floor, to the ground, through the hips and the legs. And when you're sure you've got that sensation, you've got all that muscle engagement, bringing the palms together, taking your looking place to the fingertips, and on the next inhale, extend, and exhale. Finding the breath, finding the end of the inhale, the turning point, and the end of the exhale and the turning point. Last one. And then releasing the legs, give the legs a little shake, and then releasing the hands. So we'll come into our second practice, which is a warrior two pose. Again, one we've done quite regularly before, but not with this focus on looking place. If we have the feet a comfortable distance apart, just the beginnings of the stretch down the inside of the thigh, and then keeping the hands on the hips, bending the right knee, turning the leg out about 70 degrees, and letting that right knee come into a lunge over the right ankle, or just back from it but not beyond it. And as you do that, not just avoiding that lean towards the lunge side, which is always tempting, instead keeping the spine exactly stacked over the pelvis. Let this left leg anchor you, so you've got a real feeling of space in the front of the hips here, but you haven't just mindlessly turned the foot out 90 degrees, and you've got a nice alignment of the middle of the kneecap tracking the second toe of that right foot. Let's bring the palms together. Just take your gaze down to the fingertips, and then again, nothing is going to move from the hips or the legs down. As you inhale, extending the arms, but you're turning the head to the right, and you're following the fingertips of the right hand as they extend out to the turning point of the breath, and following those right fingertips as they come back to center and join with the left. Two more times with this drishti, this looking place, this concentration aid of the fingertips of the right hand. As you complete that breath, straighten the right leg, turn the foot in, heel and toe the feet together, give the legs a shake. Separate the feet once more, bring the hands back onto the hips, and open the left hip, not turning the foot out too far, keeping that alignment, keeping the knee in a good place, using the right leg to draw this right side of the pelvis back and feel that space coming into the front of the pelvis. Bringing the hands together, looking at the fingertips of both hands, but particularly the fingertips of the left hand. And as you breathe in, follow the fingertips, turning the head, extend, keeping the shoulders relaxed. Turning point at the end of the inhale, and then back. Turning point at the end of the exhale. Two more times in your own time. At the end of that third one, straightening the left leg, turn the foot in, heel and toe, and this time just let the body be soft, give the arms and legs a little shake, give the shoulders a shrug. And for our last practice, we're going to just do a little bit of balancing. I'm going to come back just so you can see my feet, but normally I would take the cotton mat off to have a sticky mat, or go straight onto the wooden floor. So we've done this practice before. If you need the support of the chair, it's right there. Otherwise, we're breathing in and extending the arms away, and breathing out, releasing the hands down. So this is the heron balance that you're familiar with if you've been coming to the class regularly. And the only difference this week is that we're going to try and keep a drishti, a fixed gaze for the eyes, all the way through this balance. So pick your spot, probably a mark on the floor or something that's not moving, and hold your gaze there. It's a focus, but it's a soft focus. It's not a tension in the mind. It's more of a looking place. And then beginning to shift the weight. So this time, as the arms go up, just softening the right knee, lifting the heel, feeling the weight going into the left leg, and drop the foot down on the exhale, and then sway to the other side, bending the other knee, lifting the other heel. So that might be enough for you. And if you're feeling at all unsteady, you can work here. And if you're feeling like you can go a little bit further, then we are going to begin to lift alternate legs off the mat as the arms go out, and lower on the exhale. There's quite a lot going on now. You've got your looking place, you've got this movement, you've got the balance, and you're trying to integrate all of that with the breath we've used all through tonight's class. Inhale to the turning point, slightly longer exhale to the turning point. We're going to go once more to each side. And at the end of your last one, just pausing for a moment. If you're steady enough to close the eyes, or maintain that soft gaze at your looking place, and just notice how you feel and the quality of your mind, and the extent to which you are able to hold that concentration, that focus through that practice. So we'll come down now to a short closing pose and then our relaxation. And as usual, we are resting with the legs on a chair. If you're doing any kind of variation on this that you're happy with, that's absolutely fine, like legs up wall, or just legs resting on a settee. But when you have got into your position, make sure it's nice and restorative. Make sure you're comfortable, and allow your breath to settle again in this new position. And if you're happy to close the eyes, close the eyes. And if you want to keep the eyes open, the soft gaze point is up towards the ceiling. And then in the next breath or two, take your time to transition to your preferred position for relaxation, which may be lying with the legs straight or the knees bent, or lying on your side, whatever you'd like to do. Just feeling really, really comfortable. And again, ideally working with the eyes closed, or having the soft gaze up towards the ceiling. And in this relaxation, we're going to continue with the breathing that we're doing, but just in a slightly softer way. So it's a very light, conscious control of the breath. You're still noticing your inhale and the turning point, and noticing your exhale and the turning point, but with the least amount of control that you can manage. And this relaxation is a soft concentration exercise, which doesn't really sound compatible with relaxation, but it is. So I'm simply going to name parts of the body, and you take the focus of your mind to each part of the body as it is named, and we just hold the focus on that part of the body for one inhale and one exhale. So awareness to the toes of the right foot, awareness to the sole of the right foot, awareness to the heel of the right foot, awareness to the top of the right foot, awareness to the whole of the right foot. Focus on the right ankle, the right calf and shin, the right knee, the right thigh. Focus on the whole of the right leg, and allow the right leg to soften. Awareness to the toes of the left foot, the sole of the left foot, the heel of the left foot, the top of the left foot, the whole of the left foot, the left ankle, the left calf and shin, the left knee, the left thigh, the whole of the left leg. Allow the whole of the left leg to soften. Awareness to the fingers of the right hand, the palm of the right hand, the back of the right hand, the right wrist. Awareness to the whole of the right hand. The right forearm. The right elbow. The right upper arm. The right shoulder. Focus on the whole of the right arm and shoulder. Allow the right arm and shoulder to soften. Awareness to the left fingers and thumb. The palm of the left hand. The back of the left hand. The left wrist. The whole of the left hand. The left forearm. The left elbow. The left upper arm. The left shoulder. Focus on the whole of the left arm and left shoulder. Allow the left arm and left shoulder to soften. Be aware of the sense of release in the legs and the arms. And as you exhale, allow them to soften away from the center of your body. Focus now on the hips, the lower back and the abdomen, the ribs and the upper back, the tops of the shoulders and the neck, focus on the head, the back, the sides, the crown of the head and the face. Focus on the whole of the torso, hips, lower back, abdomen, chest, tops of the shoulders, neck and head. Allow the whole of the torso to soften. Notice the sensations in the arms and the legs. Notice the sensations in the center line of the body. Bring the whole of your body into your focus and allow the whole of your body to soften. And just let your breath go now into its own natural rhythm for the last few breaths of this relaxation. And now let your breath deepen. Reconnect to the body, wriggle the fingers, move the toes, gently stretch into your arms and your legs in any way that feels good. If you're lying with the legs straight on the floor, bending the knees in, rolling onto your side, and then making your way back up to sitting either on the mat with the spine straight or using the chair. Closing the eyes one last time, or having a soft gaze forward and down. And reconnecting one last time to tonight's breathing rhythm. Inhale just a comfortable amount. Focus on the turning point at the end of the inhale. Exhale. Invite a little more space in the out breath and breathe out to the turning point. 3 more breaths in your own time. And at the end of the third breath, it's taking a moment to check in with how you feel in your body, and in particular, how you feel you are in your mind in terms of having studied the mind through our concentration practices. And his advice for practical living is then, by cultivating attitudes of friendliness towards the happy, compassion towards the unhappy, delight in the virtuous, and disregard towards the wicked, the modifications of the mind remain undisturbed and the mind remains in calmness and steadiness. So I hope that helped. I wish you a steady mind for the rest of the week. Thanks for joining me, and see you next time.